Before we continue, I'd like to give a shout out to the sponsors of this video, Crossing Void. Crossing Void's an anime turn-based RPG with more than 50 most loved characters from 25 plus anime franchises such as SAO, A Certain Magical Index, and many more. And guess what? Their skills in the anime are the same in-game. With skills such as Kirito's Starburst Stream and Mikoto's Railgun, you can mix and match and discover cross skills between characters. Crossing Void also has an all-new storyline with full voiceovers. When they say Avengers Endgame was the most ambitious crossover ever, they've never seen Crossing Void and their crossing waifus. Pre-registration is now open on the iOS App Store and Google Play, so if you're interested in the game, check out the link in the description. How long has it been since the isekai genre took over the anime world? I've honestly lost track. It felt like a slow but steady invasion. You start seeing shows in this genre seep into seasonal lists, and then you realize there's 5 of them airing in one season. The genre has a lot of gems, but many of the shows have become seasonal filler, plagued by low-effort adaptations and general apathy from the fanbase, much like the infinite Stratos-like battle harems were roughly half a decade ago. Understandably, much of this stuff doesn't have anime adaptations. Studios want to play it safe with adapting the harmless choices. You either go OP main character that gets a harem in a medieval-esque world like Arifureta, and probably half of that stuff's been adapted, to be honest, or something less serious and overblown in terms of comedy like Konosuba. Now, we won't spend much time with these on the list, because what we'll be talking about are 10 series that would likely make someone question Japan's sanity. Although it's probably not the first time anyone's done that with anime before. Let's get started. We start off with the upcoming anime Keme no Michi. From the same artist that brought us the wildly entertaining Konosuba manga comes this next isekai that looks to break the mold, as countless titles have tried before. This time, our lucky recipient of a ticket to another world is professional wrestler Shibata Genzo. On his arrival, he gets a simple request from a princess: eliminate evil magical beasts. Too bad for her though, our protagonist's an animal lover who lets this take precedence over a spoiled princess's wishes. A suplex later and bam! Genzo gets a new goal in the world, put his love of animals to good use by opening a pet shop featuring the monsters in this world who look exactly like creatures from a furry's dream fantasy. This anime comes out in fall 2019. Looking past the weird premise, it looks genuinely funny. I mean, it might not be a blockbuster in a jam-packed fall 2019 season, but it could be a nice show for you to unwind with once in a while. Next we have Dragon Ball, The Time I Got Reincarnated as Yamcha. Ever imagine what it'd be like to be reincarnated as a character from your favorite manga? Well, here's a series for you. Our protagonist, a young fan of Dragon Ball, gets killed and is reincarnated into the world of Dragon Ball. Now that sounds like a dream come true, right? There's just one problem. Out of all of the possible choices, he's reincarnated as the series' trademark loser, Yamcha. All hope isn't lost though, for this version of Yamcha actually carries knowledge of what's going to happen in the series. So using this knowledge, the new Yamcha looks to change the future. Going from the weakest to the strongest, eh? It sounds like a job for your everyday otaku. The manga's actually very short and can be read in Shonen Jump's digital magazine, so if you're interested, go and check it out ASAP. About My Room Leads to Dungeon is the number 8 entry on the list. Starring high school dropout Toru Suzuki, the story begins when he stays in a cheap apartment in Tokyo. After all, who could say no to a monthly rent of 3,000 yen? I know I wouldn't, but these things obviously have strings attached. No, the room isn't haunted or anything like that, but it does have a nifty feature, being connected to a dungeon. After saving a female knight, Toru realizes his home has another purpose in addition to housing him, a rest stop for adventurers exploring the dungeon. Looks like a peaceful life for our protagonist is nowhere in sight, so instead, wacky misadventures with residents of another world are on the menu. Technically speaking, the series is an isekai, but it doesn't feature the traditional setup of the protagonist dying, then being reincarnated or getting waltzed off to another world. Somehow, the premise reminds me of Invaders of the Rokujuma, which means it's not as weird as some of the titles that we'll be seeing soon. Being like Invaders is also a good thing in my opinion. I found it really entertaining, and we need more isekai along the veins of that series. We'll be proceeding with an anime still fresh on our minds at number 7, Okasan Online. I'm sure a lot of you who are updated with seasonal anime know about this show. Long story short, it's about a boy who gets transported into a game world setting with his mom after answering a survey. The catch? Luck has it that his mom has beat him in terms of power. Yep, it's the supposed main character's mother who becomes the overpowered isekai MC. With that, the mother and son duo begin traveling this strange world, and yes, the series is filled with incest subtext. It doesn't get any more Japanese than that, with their seeming love for incest, if the horde of thirsty Imoto shows is any indication to go by. Touring a magical world with your mom never seemed so fun before, did it, right? Thanks to its parodying nature and the intentionally provocative setup, the show garnered a lot of interest even back when it was still a novel. As an anime, the memes are there for sure. If this series in particular seems a bit tame to you, let me reassure you that things will only get weirder from here on out. The Beast and His Pet High School Girl takes the number 6 spot on the list. The plot of The Beast and His Pet High School Girl is self-explanatory. Kashiwagi Aki gets kidnapped, and before she knows it, she wakes up in a strange world filled with intelligent and anthropomorphic animals. In this world, the animals take the place of humans as the dominant species, and Aki ends up in a pet store. Zinovi, a wolfman, quickly takes a liking to her and buys her, thus beginning her new, strange life. Why do I think I've heard this somewhere before? While many people would initially dismiss the story as furry bait, it has some legitimately nice things going for it. The story has some cute moments, and for those who are still quite apprehensive, you don't have to worry about any major furry romance or ecchi, things commonly associated with these weird Japanese things. Past halfway onto the list now, and we enter uncanny territory, starting with Reincarnated as the strongest wand in another world. I'm forcing a girl to be a magical girl against her will. Oh boy, here we go with the insanely long titles and the insane storylines that scream Japan. Now we're talking. Alright. This series introduces us to Nimi Reiji, an avid fan of the magical girl series Charming Luluna. As per Isekai drill, Truckun comes in and kicks off the story, killing our protagonist and sending him back into another world. Opening his eyes, Nimi finds himself in a world of magic. Not as a magical girl, mind you, as a wand. With unlimited magic power at your disposal, what else do you want? Unfortunately, wands are useless without wielders, and a girl just happens to be passing by. Seeing the girl as this world's equivalent of Luluna, Nimi begins the quest of turning her into a full-fledged magical girl. Let this adult ecchi manga's premise speak for itself, and trust me, we ain't seen nothing yet, not with the next ones on this list. Fourth on the list is that time I got reincarnated as a dragon egg. Just kidding, the actual title is Reincarnated as a Dragon Egg, Let's Aim to Be the Strongest. Has the idea of being reincarnated as a dragon egg ever crossed your mind? Don't lie. Then again, no anime watcher from before October 2018 really thought that reincarnating into slime was possible either. Well, the protagonist of this story wakes up in a game world, complete with status bars and the like. Yep, I can imagine the rolling eyes, so just stay with me for a second, okay? Our hero's role, a half-hatched dragon egg. Using his wits from when he was a human, he must survive this unforgiving world filled with monsters that just want to kill him. The quest to defeat the monsters and eventually evolve into a majestic dragon begins. Now, this series starts off slow, but once you get past the early slogs, the plot twists are rather interesting. Sit back and watch our protagonist's evolution into the strongest dragon in the world. As we start counting down our top 3, we have Ride On King. How does earthbending Putin riding a dragon sound? I bet you didn't know a series like this existed, did you? Our Putin lookalike is Alexander Puchinov, ruler of Persia. Violence reigns supreme in the country, but that's expected when your leader is obsessed with dominating everything by riding them, both literally and figuratively. An incident not completely brought about by notorious Truckun, then sends him to an unknown world full of magical creatures. What else is there for the manly leader of Persia to do than to start dominating them? I have no words for this. This is wild. Then he gets joined by more denizens of the world and, wait a minute, properly armored and dressed women? A burly main character who spends so much time shirtless? The tables have turned, fan service. In second place, we take a look at Reborn as a vending machine. I now wonder the dungeon. Insanely long title, ludicrous premise, and a light novel that was published on the now infamous website. Sounds just about right. This is the story of a vending machine otaku. Those exist? That dies by getting crushed by, what else? A vending machine. As Isekai has taught us, dying on Earth isn't the end, so he gets reincarnated in a fantasy world. Unfortunately, or luckily I suppose, he's reincarnated as a sentient vending machine. Stock vending machine powers include a very limited vocabulary, the ability to dispense all sorts of things he bought from his previous life, and the ability to upgrade and load himself with powers. A meeting with Lamis, a hunter girl who names him Boxo, formally begins the duo's adventure through this fantastic world. Now, did you get that? For the weird premise and all, this story is good as a unique, if not strange, take on isekai. As the positive comments and feedback have said, the weird premise is there to catch the attention of viewers, but it's the story and engaging writing that will make sure that they stay, and stay they did. Number 1 on the list is I was reincarnated as a hot spring in an alternative world. What a mouthful of a title. You thought that getting reincarnated as a vending machine was weird? Try this one out for size. The story goes that our protagonist, Atami Kusatsu, dies on his way to a hot spring. You know the isekai drill by now, right? And at this point, I don't have to repeat it. Our hero gets a second chance of life, this time as a hot spring. That's right, I'm not kidding. Our protagonist dies and literally becomes a hot spring. Naturally, as a hot spring, he then experiences the joy of having beautiful adventurers take a dip inside him for a regenerative bath. Why do I get the feeling that this premise sounds a lot more suggestive than it should be? Anyone else feel the same way? Oh well, perfect situation for fan service. Amazing. Simply amazing, Japan. Love you guys. So next time you get sick of things like Shield Hero, Slime, and Death March, perhaps some of these titles would be to your liking. Or not. Let's just say that the possibilities are limitless in isekai, which is probably why the genre is so popular in the land of the rising sun. On another note, most of the stuff here isn't likely to get adapted into anime for obvious reasons. So if you want a chance to see what crazy ideas Japan has for you, you better start reading them as manga or novels. So what's the weirdest isekai you've ever read? Comment below and let me know. Don't forget to check out our sponsors game, Crossing Void, the ultimate anime crossover. With characters from some of the most famous anime duking it out to rule the arena, roll the gacha to collect and upgrade your favorite characters, making them stronger and fiercer. Waifuing up and enhancing your intimacy with the character lets you receive unlockables such as exclusive illustrations and voice recordings. There are more rewards to be given out with Crossing Void's Facebook and Twitter community events, so be sure to follow their social media accounts to keep up with the prizes. I definitely recommend you to check out the game. Epic battles with stunning animations and a fully voiced cast by the original Japanese voice actors are waiting. Pre-registration is now open for Crossing Void on the iOS App Store and Google Play. So, come on, what are you waiting for? Click that link in the description right now. I'll see you next time on ViniiTube.